And we are live. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I actually just tried to do the podcast a minute ago, but my internet is being absolutely terrible today. I don't really know what that is, so I do apologize for the two viewers that were in here at the time that I have to redo this stream because my internet is just lousy as can be sometimes. It doesn't want to work. But today we're going to be talking about the Tatis situation. If you guys didn't know about the Tatis situation that happened the other night in Texas versus the Rangers, obviously in Arlington, Texas, Tatis had a 3-0 count, and the bases were loaded. And the Rangers were down 10-3, so it was a 7-run game. And Tatis saw a good pitch, which was clearly in the zone. If he didn't swing at it, that would have been a called strike. And Tatis just unloaded and bombed it out. And a lot of people are complaining that he's running up the score. And the thing is, people realize that you just don't pitch Tatis in that area. Tatis has been a flaming torch. He has been pretty much the most unstoppable hitter in the league. He has been the most fierce hitter outside of Mike Yaz. I won't even try and pronounce his last name because I butcher it every time for the Giants. There's some other noticeable names that have been killing it, obviously, other than like the general names like Mike Trout and Aaron Judge before he was injured. But Tatis, pretty much through every facet of the game that you go through from basic to advanced analytics, Tatis has been pretty much the best hitter this whole season so far. He has been having an outstanding season, and he's proving why he's not an overrated hitter. Sorry. A lot of people were worried last year that because of the small plate appearances that he had last year, he didn't have enough compared to every other hitter in the league, at least the majority of hitters in the league. A lot of people were worried that he was overrated. And I am absolutely loving the fact that Tatis is shoving it down people's throats, that he is not overrated, but he is indeed very underrated. And he loves the game. He's basically equivalent, maybe not in the same way that he approaches the game, obviously, because everybody's pretty much different in the way that they do things. But in a sense of how much the game drives him and his passion and how much love he has for the game, him and Tatis are very similar in a sense that they're going to break a lot of unwritten rules that are ridiculous. I don't know why we have these unwritten rules. It's not the 1920s. It's not the 1960s. It's not the 1980s. It is 2020. This is a time in human civilization or human history where walls are continuing to be broken down outside of anything that is related to baseball. It doesn't matter what topic, things are meant to be broken down and be better for society. So in a sense, the unwritten rules are long overdue. They've been long overdue for a long time. And it's about time that these hitters that love the game so much and are willing to give it a good change for the better, like Tim Anderson did it last year. You have Juan Soto, you have Tatis Jr. We need these type of players. It makes the game better. It does not make the game better to make someone feel bad and try and apologize for a grand slam during a 7-run lead. And we know from history, from baseball, as long as back as you can go, from the first recorded game of baseball, we can go back through basically the last century and see that there have been many, many, many teams that have came back from 7-run plus deficits in won games. So don't give me that, we're running up the score BS. That is a lousy excuse because you didn't make a good pitch. And it's kind of like trace it back to the whole situation last year with Max Muncy and Bumgarner. Bumgarner wanted to complain about it. He made a bad pitch. And, Max Muncy is going to capitalize on that pitch, and he did. He sent it into the bay, and, Bumgarner had a problem with it. And Max Muncy basically told him, make a good pitch. If, you don't want that happening, make a good pitch. And, you can go fetch it out of the ocean if you have that much of a big problem about it. So, it's a good argument to have, It's basically to that point where it's like, if you're going to complain as a pitcher, make a better pitch. But I will go ahead and read off some quotes because I have a lot of things saved up. I can't memorize every bit of this information. So I have like 15 tabs open of information right now. So I get every bit of information that you guys need or that you guys don't know about. So the first thing I wanted to mention was Jeff Passan earlier today at 2:07 p.m. He said the Texas Rangers reliever Ian Gibbett, who threw the first pitch after Fernando Tatis Jr.'s grand slam last night behind his Padres teammate Manny Machado, is expected to be suspended for intentional throwing as soon as today, which I could definitely somewhat agree with that. I don't think the pitch was a slip. That was pretty intentional after, Tatis and Machado are pretty much back-to-back in the Padres lineup. I actually did want to find the specific quote Okay, so here's a quote from Woodward, who is the Rangers' actual manager. He said, I think there's a lot of unwritten rules that are constantly being challenged in today's game. I didn't like it personally. You're up by 7 in the 8th inning. It's typically not a good time to swing 3-0. It's kind of the way we were all raised in the game. But like I said, the norms are being challenged on a daily basis. So just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not right. But I don't think we liked it as a group. And then in parentheses, it said it appeared that Hosmer was talking to him on the bench. Is that anything you'll discuss with Ting? Yeah, I think so. I think we'll definitely have some discussion with it. I know Manny Machado really well. So we'll have some dialogue about it. If they don't think it was right, then I'm sure that they're going to talk to him about it. I'm guessing that's what was going on the bench over there. I wasn't paying that close of attention, but I'm guessing that's what the conversation were about. So in a sense, I won't be too hard on Woodward because he did basically say that, although it's kind of like a norm that he grew up on, he's not necessarily saying it's the right thing, but he did say that he had a problem with it. So I'm kind of like on two different sides with Woodward in a sense that he's not saying necessarily his opinion is above everybody else's, like he's in the right and everybody's in the wrong. But at the same time, it's like, it doesn't matter if there's a 7-run lead. I mean, there have been in multiple games throughout history where leads have, even if it's like a 7-run lead, it has been challenged and teams have come back and won these games. So that's a poor excuse. You can't use that as an excuse. Pretty much all I'm going to say about this is you have a problem with Tatis swinging on a 3-0 count, continuing to try and give his team the lead just in case the Padres pitching staff falls apart, because we know they've been notorious for that for who knows how long now. That's been like one of the areas of focus that the Padres have needed, is a bullpen that doesn't collapse on them. Same with the starting rotation that is solid. Basically, we know that the Padres have needed this for a long time. So I don't see a problem with them running up the score. And plus, I said this on Twitter yesterday. This is not T-ball. This is not Little League Baseball. This is not high school baseball. This is Major League Baseball. You make your pitches or you don't make it. If you had a problem with Tatis doing what he did, you either one of two things. You either make a better pitch and grow up because you are a Major League player and you are a grown man, an adult, or two, other than making a pitch, the manager should have said, oh, well, Tatis is hot right now, so maybe we should intentionally walk him. I know it's like a Barry Bonds situation, and for the most part in a 7-run lead, or a 7-run deficit, I would say from a Rangers perspective, you're not going to walk someone with bases loaded. I mean, you're going to give yourself every chance you can to come back. But at the same time, it's like, well, if you got a problem, those are your two options. Either stop complaining about it and make a better pitch, or walk the guy. That's the only options I have for you. So we go from there. And then I know Jace Tingler had something to say with it, which I'm very disappointed in his response because he is the Padres manager. He said, basically from 97.3 The Fan, which is basically San Diego's only 24/7 all sports FM station. And I actually had it written down on a notepad because I couldn't find any specific quotes. I just kind of took specific phrases that he said. But he did say that usually on a 3-0 count, they do have a green light. But with a comfortable lead and a 7-run lead, he's not trying to round up the score. And I guess he had a talk with Fernando Tatis. And I'm just sitting here saying, why? Why are you trying to make Fernando Tatis try and feel bad about it? Why are a lot of people trying to make him feel bad about the situation? He has no business trying to feel guilty for what he did. He's playing baseball. He's enjoying the sport that he loves. It doesn't matter if you feel like he's running up the score or not. Like I said, pitch a better pitch. It's as simple as that. Tatis is going to go do Tatis things. That's what a few players actually mentioned. Two specific players that I wanted to talk about was Gerrit Cole. Gerrit Cole was interviewed earlier today, and he said, I quote, "It's pretty hard to hit a grand slam. So whatever count you want to try and hit one in, go for it." And basically Gerrit Cole said, just make a better pitch. And Gerrit Cole is one of the best pitchers in the league. The only pitcher I would say that he's not better than is Jacob deGrom. But in terms of the American League, Gerrit Cole is the best pitcher, maybe not right now in the sense of, Shane Bieber and some other guys are putting up some ridiculous numbers, but overall in his career, he's shown he is the best pitcher right now in the American League. So another quote I wanted to get from was Dom Smith, which Dom Smith plays for the Mets. He said, I don't mind it personally. It's hard to hit, period. So basically, he said around the same thing that Garrett Cole said. It's hard to hit a grand slam. If you get a good pitch, swing at it. Who cares what anyone thinks? It's an unwritten rule. It's stupid. It's dumb. It's asinine. Who cares? If you have a problem with it, grow up, make a better pitch. That's all I can say about it. So on 97.3, The Fan that I mentioned earlier about Tingler's comments, Tatis Jr. was actually asked how difficult it is to not swing a good pitch on 3-0. And basically from the interviews that they gave him, there were multiple interviews that they gave him, and it just seemed like they were peer pressuring Tatis into apologizing. And I'm like, Tatis should not have to apologize for this. This is dumb. This is like middle school drama. Like it just makes no sense that he has to apologize for playing a game passionately that he loves. That makes no sense to me. And that's why these unwritten rules, these bat flips that pitchers have a problem with, make a better pitch. These, grand slam apparently is coming to light. Apparently a grand slam is such a cardinal sin in the baseball universe. Make a better pitch. It's simple as that, and also, grow up, have a funny bone in your body. Realize that you made a bad pitch and correct yourself. I don't see why it's so hard for some people to realize this. I know a lot more pitchers are coming around to the idea, but there's still a lot of pitchers, a good portion of pitchers where it's like, we're still living in the 1920s. And it's like, we're not living in the 1920s anymore. We're living in 2020, a day and age where things are starting to evolve, whether it's better for worse. But in a sense of unwritten rules, and the fact that I think hitters should be able to bat flip and express their joy for the game. I'm not saying they should just chunk the bat at the opposing, dugout or whatever. I'm not saying that they should go out and say and taunt the other team. So, that's happened several times from certain players who can't hold their grip together. But in a sense of just simply bat flipping or simply, maybe admiring it for a second, not the entire way through. It's just like, I don't get it. I will never understand. Maybe it's because I'm not a pitcher in the major league, but at the same time, make a better pitch. That's all I'm going to say about it. So I know John Heyman said something about it too. He said there's a 3-game ban for Ian, one for Woodward after 3 behind Machado following the famed Tatis slam, which I'm not really sure if Woodward deserves a suspension. I don't agree with Woodward. I'm kind of in the middle with how his statement was. Which I definitely do think Ian deserved the suspension, but Woodward, I don't really know if that was necessarily a suspension. I know some people were like, oh, Tatis should get suspended. I'm like, Tatis should get suspended for hitting a grand slam, enjoying himself, expressing his love, continuing to, not run up the score, but to give the Padres a chance, because in the past they've had issues with their starting rotation. And in this point of the game, they've had issues with their bullpen. I'm like, cry me a river, people. How ridiculous could you be? Like, it doesn't get any more childish and ridiculous in middle school drama than what is going on with people saying, oh, he shouldn't have a right. He shouldn't be swinging at that count. Cry me a river. So there's that. And that's basically it. I know that there was a quote that said, I'm not pounding my fist on the table saying this was absolutely horrendous. Woodward said of Tatis' swing before the suspension was announced, I just thought it was just past the line, which that's why I said earlier, I'm kind of in between about Woodward. I don't think Woodward deserved to get suspended. I think that's a little, off the top, even though it was just one game. I think that's a little ridiculous to suspend the guy for one game. But, at the same time, it's just kind of like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get why people have such a problem with the unwritten rule. I will never understand it. As someone who loves the game and wants the game to grow, and I wish the league would market their players better. I think this is a good opportunity to market guys like Juan Soto and even Mike Trout, for that matter. They could also market him more. They could market Tatis Jr. more. They could market a lot of these other guys, Matt Chapman, Mike Yaz from the Giants. There's a lot of players that you could market and grow the sport. So I just don't understand. I think the unwritten rules could turn, if anything, it's going to turn off people away from being like, why is this a thing? Like, people who aren't baseball fans, but people are challenging these people to get into the game. From my perspective, I would think that they would kind of be like, why is this a thing? Like, why are these players not allowed to have fun? I want them to have fun and express their emotions. I don't want them to act like a boring troll after, hitting a big hit or something. Just depending, or, a pitcher getting a big strikeout, or a infielder making a diving double play that, that gets them out of a jam. Like, I want to see some emotions from these players. That's what it's all about from any sport. You go down to football, you go down to basketball, hockey, baseball, obviously, whatever sport. I want to see emotions. That is exciting to me personally. And the last thing I wanted to touch at is, they're complaining about running up the score in a sense. Okay, so if you want to complain about running up the score, I brought up Baseball Reference, and it's specifically the biggest comeback wins in baseball history. So we're going to go through this, and I might beat the dead horse a little bit, but you know what? I don't really care, because if we're going to complain about running up the score, I think this is a good time to talk about running up the score. So specifically, 2001, Pittsburgh versus Houston. They were down by, it was a score of 8-2. The final score was 9-8. Let's go down to another one. Cleveland versus Seattle in 2001. The score was 14-3. Guess who came back and won? 15-4. Let's go to 2011 versus the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. The score was 1-6. The final score was 7-6. Let's go to another one, shall we? Chicago Cubs versus Milwaukee in 2000. The score was 8-3. They came back and won 9-8. Let's go to not some postseason. I mean, we could go to postseason games even too. Like, there's a long list of both postseason and regular season games. Let's go to 2006, Kansas City Royals versus Chicago White Sox. The score was 7-1. Came back and won 8-7. 2016, the Seattle Mariners versus the Padres. It was 12-2. Then they come back and win 16-13. I could go on and on and on and on. Literally, it is a full page of games where teams come back from large deficits. If you want to complain about running up the score, make a better pitch. It's as simple as that. Don't complain. Make a better pitch or grow up and learn that sometimes you make bad pitches, and if you have a problem with it, fix yourself. That's all I'm going to say about it. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about it. Let me know on Twitter what you guys think about it, because that's pretty much all I can say at this point. I just think it's ridiculous. I think the whole situation is dumb. I will never fault anyone for showing their emotions. I will never fault anyone for hitting a grand slam in a 7-run game when there have been larger deficits of teams coming back. I just don't see it. So thank you for the podcast. It's a little shorter than normal, but this was pretty much the only thing I wanted to talk about today. So I will see you guys later. Hopefully you guys enjoy the Yankees game, for all the people on my channel that are subscribed who love the Yankees. And I will see you guys for another podcast tomorrow. Have a wonderful night, guys.